Howdy y'all, and welcome to this special May Outlook. Before we get started, please take this forecast with a grain of salt, as we cannot accurately predict the futures, as anything over a week out is virtually impossible to forecast. So again, please take this May Outlook with a grain of salt. Now, to take a look at what we could expect for the month ahead, we're going to take a look at the key factors for the month of May, including the ENSO pattern, the QBO, PDO, and even the Gulf waters and the jet stream. Now, starting off with the ENSO pattern, we are currently experiencing neutral conditions that's going to be transitioning over into a weak El Nino. Now, this transitional phase strengthens the subtropical jet stream, which enhances severe weather activity, including thunderstorms, tornadoes, and even heavy rainfall across the central and southern part of the country. This could result in some drought relief for most of y'all down there in the southeast, as y'all have been coming in on some severe drought conditions, and really much of the country has been dealing with some dry conditions for the month of April, at least until here at the end of the month, as it seems like we've got a month worth of rain here due to a multi-day severe weather pattern. So onto the QBO here. Now, I know the QBO plays more of a role in our winter weather than it does our spring weather, but it can still play a role in our spring weather patterns. Now, currently we are in an easterly negative phase, which contributes to heightened atmospheric variability during the spring transition, amplifying fluctuations in temperatures and precipitation pattern. Now, the PDO, we are currently in a negative phase, which favors above normal temperatures in the western part of the country while modulating Pacific moisture delivery, often resulting in drier conditions in portions of the west. And we'll cover the precipitation and temperature anomalies here in a little bit and provide expert guidance at the Climate Prediction Center here and a little bit of what we could expect for the month ahead. Now, warm Gulf waters and jet stream shift. Elevated sea surface temperatures supply abundant low-level moisture, while the northward seasonal migration of the polar and subtropical jet streams promotes classic spring clashing air masses for May's climatological peak and severe weather events. Now, speaking of that drought I was talking about earlier, we can see current moderate to severe drought conditions persist across portions of Florida, southern Georgia, and even Alabama due to below normal precipitation during the preceding winter and early spring, resulting in reduced soil moisture, lowered stream flows, and impacts on agriculture and water resources. May brings likely relief as Florida's climatological rainy season commences with increased convective activity and more frequent rainfall events, especially along the east coast and even in the peninsula. NOAA's seasonal guidance supports above normal precipitation probabilities in the southeast during May, aiding in alleviating current deficits, which y'all do need the rain down there, and it looks like we are coming into rainy season in the southeast for the month of May. And we'll still take a look at the model guidance and expert guidance at the Climate Prediction Center here in a little bit. But as we take a look at the Climate Prediction Center's ENSO guidance here, we can see that they have issued their final La Nina advisory and have issued an El Nino watch. Now, as we take a look at the ENSO probabilities here, we see clearly that we are going to be heading out of ENSO neutral and into a weak El Nino for May and even in June. But once we head into the summer, fall, and especially during the winter months, it's looking like we're going to be heading into a strong El Nino, and I'll be breaking down what we could expect as far as our hurricane season goes here at the end of May, as it's looking like hurricane season might not be as active as y'all once thought. As I did say in the last video that it's looking like our hurricane season could be active. Well, looks like I'm wrong on that, as El Nino typically means that we are going to be coming in on a not so significant hurricane season, but that can and will change as well. And I'll be breaking that down in my hurricane outlook video, which is actually some good news, but may not even be good news at all, as y'all do actually need the rain down there in the southeast. But really, y'all don't want hurricanes down there, honestly. So that's actually some pretty good news, to be honest with y'all. So let's go ahead and get started here on the model guidance, and then we'll get into the expert guidance and my thoughts and even a bold prediction on what we could expect for the month ahead. And to take a look at what we could expect, we're going to take a look at all of the long-range forecast models. We're going to take a look at the GEFS extended Euro weeklies, CSV2 extended, and CMC extended. These are all of the weekly models. Then we'll take a look at the monthly models, which include the Euro seasonal, CSV2 extended, and even the CANCIP seasonal, which the CANCIP seasonal typically is in alignment with what the Climate Prediction Center shows us. Now, as we take a look at the GEFS here, we can see to start off May, it's looking like from Arizona and New Mexico all the way over here into the southeast and even northeast is going to be above average, but it's looking like the rest of the country It's going to start off on a dry note. Now, as we head into the middle of the month, let's say the 16th time frame, we can see there's a lot more uncertainties on the map, hence more whites. But we can see the northeast and over here in the Great Lakes is going to be above average. The southeast, mixed bag. Down here by Texas and Louisiana, sort of drying out a little bit down there. West Coast is going to be dry. Montana, y'all going to be above average, but the rest of the country is looking to be a mixed bag. And I have noticed on the rest of the models, before we get into those, there is a lot of uncertainties. So we'll take a look at that here in a little bit. But we can see as we head towards the end of the month, a little bit more uncertainties, but we can see the Mid-South is going to be dry. Southeast is going to be a mixed bag. Great Lakes, Upper Midwest, Northeast is going to be above average. And up here in the Northern Plains and the West Coast is going to be remaining below average. So really pretty much a mixed bag for everybody here for the month of May. But I would pretty much bet the horse that the southern part of the country is going to be above average here in New Mexico and Arizona into the southeast and northeast, while the rest of the country is going to start off dry. Middle and end of the month, really to be determined if we stick with the GEFS anyway. Now on to the Euro weeklies. They're showing us pretty much the same story here, with the southern half of the country being above average as well as up here in the northeast. Rest of the country is looking to be pretty dry though. Head off into the middle of the month, let's say right around the 16th time frame again. See a lot more uncertainties here as well, but leaning below average here out in the western part of the country into the plains, while the Great Lakes is above average. Head into the end of the month, we can see that still a lot more uncertainties. We can see the deep south here is going to be below average, as well as up here in the northwest. Upper Great Lakes, upper Midwest region going to be above average, but there's a lot more whites on the map, so definitely a lot of uncertainties here in the middle and end of the month if we stick with both the Euro and the GEFS models. Now onto my favorite model. Now I'm not going to be biased here, but this is my favorite model, and we can see why, because we can see very clearly where the above and below average is at. Really all of the models are in agreement so far as as precipitation goes for the beginning parts of May, as it's looking like the southern half of the country is going to be well above average. But the only difference is between the CSV2 and the rest of the models is that there's going to be some above average precipitation here out by Nevada and over here in Northern California. And also the Northeast is going to be above average as well, but it's looking like the rest of the country is going to start off pretty dry though. Head off into the middle of the month, let's say the 15th time frame. We can see there's a stark contrast between this and the rest of the models, as it's looking like the Southeast is going to be above average. I would be in agreement with this one, as the Southeast is coming in on rainy season. Down here in the Central and Southern Plains, above average. Southwest is going to be pretty dry, as well as much of the West Coast. Looks like some of the Rockies is going to be above average, as well as up here in the Northeast. Ohio Valley is going to be drying out as well. Head off into the end of the month. Right around the 26th time frame, it's looking like the Great Lakes region is going to be above average, as well as up here in the upper Midwest and Northern Plains and even Northern Rockies. West Coast, Southwest, mixed bag, but leaning below average down there. Southeast, also a mixed bag, but I would say above average down there, here in Mississippi, Alabama, and parts of Georgia, and even down here in Florida, where y'all do need the rain. Northeast is going to be drying out as we head towards the end of the month. Now on to the CMC model here. I know I'm probably confusing y'all, but basically GEFS and Euro Weeklies is showing the same story, with above average here in the southern half of the country, but sort of a mixed bag and a lot of uncertainties. So we head towards the middle and end of the month, but we take a look here at the CMC and compare this to the CSV2. Well, they're all showing us pretty much the same story here at the beginning of the month, with above average here in the southern half of the country, but this one's showing a little bit more above average here in the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and upper Midwest, while the Northwest all the way here into the Central Plains is going to be leaning below average. Northeast, we stick with the CMC. Northeast is going to be above average up there. Head off into the middle of the month, let's say the 18th time frame. This is sort of the leaning towards the end of the month, but the middle of the month, it's looking like this one's really different between all of the models, as it's looking like the eastern part of the country is going to be leaning above average. Really much of the country is going to be either above average or to be determined. Heading to the end of the month, really up in the air and to be determined. This one's more in alignment here at the end of the month with the GEFS and Euro Weeklies. So basically, I'm thinking really it's to be determined here in the middle and end of the month. That's why I said at the beginning of the video that really forecasting anything over a week out is virtually impossible to forecast. So definitely, again, take this with a grain of salt, as really to be determined as far as precipitation goes. And we'll get into the monthly models here before we take a look at the expert guy in it. But we can see here for the month of May, stick with the Euro seasonal. We can see that the Northwest is going to be below average. I would be in agreement with that. But the central to southern plains down here into the southeast is going to be above average. I would also be in agreement with that, as well as up in the northeast. So I would definitely be in agreement with the Euro seasonal. We see the upper Midwest is going to be drying out down here into the Great Lakes and parts of the Ohio Valley. Take a look at the CSV2 seasonal. I would also be in agreement with this, although I think I would be sort of in disagreement with the northwest part of the country, as I think it's going to be pretty dry out there. But we can see much of the country is heading into an above average pattern unless you live over here in the Ohio Valley region and west coast. Southeast, I would be in agreement with this as we are heading into rainy season. CanSIP seasonal, this one's more in alignment with what the Climate Prediction Center shows us, but I would also be in agreement with this as well. I think the southern half of the country down here in the southeast is going to be above average. Northwest is going to be below average. Mixed bag up here in the northeast, and also a mixed bag up here in the Great Lakes and upper Midwest region, but leaning below average here in northwest and here in the central and northern plains. And also, I would expect the southwest to dry out as well. So, what do the experts have to show us? Well, they're showing us a lot of uncertainties, hence why they're saying equal chances, because really it's to be determined, and really there's a lot of uncertainties in the middle and end of the month. But if we stick with the Climate Prediction Center, they're showing us below average precipitation here in the northwest and above average here down by Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and parts of Oklahoma. So definitely would be in agreement with this, as I think the southeast and south central part of the country is going to be above average. I would say the northeast is also going to be coming in on above average precipitation for the month of May. Could be a mixed bag as well, though. And I think the northwest is going to be below average, as well as the southwest. So again, a lot of uncertainties, but I would just say that the southeast coming in on rainy season down there for the month of May, so above average here in the southeast into the south central part of the country and northeast, while the northwest is going to be leaning below average, as well as probably here in the Great Lakes region. I would probably expect a mixed bag between below and above average, where I would think probably 1 week you're going to be dealing with an active weather pattern, and then the next week going to be fun in the sun and dealing with some pretty dry conditions out there. So again, to be determined, hence why they're stating equal chances for precipitation for much of the country. Now on to the temperatures of what we could expect for the month of May, as we have been dealing with a pretty warm month of April. And it's looking like we're going to start off May pretty chilly here for much of us here in the eastern part of the country. And this also includes the southwest, but looking like the northwest and much of the western part of the country is going to be starting off May on a warm note. Head off into the middle of the month, let's say the 15th time frame, much of the same story. Southwest coming in on above average temperatures, but much of the western part of the country is dealing with above average temperatures, while the eastern part of the country is dealing with below average temperatures. Head off into the end of the month, really much of the same story, but it's looking like a little bit more of the eastern part of the country is coming in on above average temperatures. So I would say that the eastern part of the country is going to be pretty cool for the month of May, while the western and really some of the central part of the country is going to be coming in on a warmer than average May. And this could also mean an active month for severe weather, by the way, as well. We got to watch out for that, as May is peak severe weather season. Taking a look at the Euro extended, we can see that much of the country is going to start off May on a cold note, unless you live up here in the northwest. Head off into the middle of the month, say the 18th time frame. It's looking like more of the western and central part of the country is heading into a warm note, while the eastern part of the country is still going to be below average. Head off into the end of the month, much of the same story really. So I would say that the eastern part of the country is going to be cooler than average, while the western part of the country is going to be warmer than average. But I would expect, as we head into June, I would probably say that the eastern part of the country is going to be heading off into a warm note. So it's looking like the GEFS and Euro Weeklies are in agreement as far as temperatures go anyway. What does the CSV2 have to show us? Well, same story really. The Northwest and Rockies and a little bit of the Central Plains coming in on an above average note, while the Southwest up here into the Northeast and really much of the eastern part of the country is starting off May on a cool note. Head off into the middle of the month again. We can see that much of the same story, and head off into the end of the month. Much of the same story there. So all of the models are in agreement that really the beginning and middle of the month it's going to be cool out east, warm out west. And as we head towards the end of the month, it's looking like much of the country is going to be heading off into a warmer than average temperature pattern. Now, what about the CMC extended? Well, much the same story there as well. Much of the country heading into a below average pattern, while the Northwest is dealing with an above average pattern. Head off into the middle of the month. This one is a stark contrast between all of the models, as it's showing the Southwest being below average, as well as the northeast, but it's looking like from the northwest down here into the southeast, it's going to be above average. So this is a stark contrast between this and the rest of the models. As we head towards the end of the month, looking like much of the central and eastern part of the country is heading into a warmer than average pattern, while the southwest is going to be coming into a colder than average pattern. So this is the only model that differs between the rest of them. So what does the monthly models have to show us? Now keep in mind that the Euro seasonal typically shows us a warmer bias. If you take a look back at my December, January, and February outlooks, which are pretty much all my winter outlooks, that the Euro loves to show a warm bias as far as temperatures go. And we can see this clearly here, that shows us that it's going to be warmer than average here out west and down here in the southeast. But honestly, I would definitely be in agreement with this. Now, the CSV2, I would be in agreement with this as well. I think the western part of the country is leaning above average for the month of May, while the eastern part of the country is going to be leaning below average for the month of May. CanSIP seasonal, this one relies on Climate Prediction Center data. I would also be in agreement with this, as I think western part of the country is going to be leaning above average, eastern part of the country is going to be leaning below average, but some areas could come in on above average temperatures. And as we take a look at the temperature guidance at the Climate Prediction Center for the month of May, we can see that the northwest is going to be leaning well above average all the way down here into the southeast and parts of the mid-Atlantic region, but equal chances means either above or below average. But I would expect for the month of May here in the northeast, Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and upper Midwest, I would say that y'all are going to be leaning below average. But I think as we head towards the end of the month, we're going to be leaning more above average, and that's when our severe weather pattern could come back into play again, as I think we could be dealing with another multi-day severe weather pattern from the month of May. And if we do come in on that, I will have daily updates on what we could expect, so definitely stay tuned for that. So basically, pretty locked in as far as temperatures go anyway. We're going to be below average here out east and above average out west to start off May and as we head towards the middle of May. But as we head towards the end of May, I think much of the country is going to be heading into an above average pattern as far as precipitation goes. Again, a lot of uncertainties, but I would say that southeast and south central part of the country is going to be leaning above average, as well as up in the northeast. But it's looking like the west coast, northwest, and southwest is going to be leaning up below average, while the rest of the country is sort of a mixed bag, which means that one week we could be dealing with an active weather pattern, and the next week we're going to be dry as a bones. So that's the reason why they issued equal chances for much of the country, because there's still a lot of uncertainties when it comes to precipitation. But temperatures, we're well locked in on that anyway. Now, on to my bold prediction of what we could expect for the month of May. Well, I think we're going to be coming in on an explosive May, as the emerging El Nino is poised to supercharge the atmosphere across the lower 48. El Nino fuels historic severe weather outbreaks from the southern plains through the Midwest and Southeast, with an invigorating jet stream and abundant moisture clashing to produce multiple high-impact events. Record-breaking tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail is expected. This May stands ready to etch its name in the history books of extreme spring weather. So if this happens, definitely be providing updates here daily. We do come in on a multi-day severe weather pattern that we did come in on here at the end of April. So stay tuned for that. Now on to the analog year of what this May could resemble. The closest year I could find is 2015, which had a similar spring transition from neutral to developing El Nino conditions as currently observed for this May. That year featured an active severe weather season across the central part of the country, with multiple high-impact tornado and thunderstorm outbreaks, followed by warmer than average temperatures and variable precipitation patterns as El Nino matured, which definitely aligns with what we're going to be expecting this May, as really it's up in the air as far as precipitation goes for really much of us, as really all the models are really to be determined. So definitely stay tuned. I'll be keeping y'all posted on the severe weather for the month of May. If we do come in on another multi-day severe weather outbreak, I'll be definitely keeping y'all posted on here as well. Now on to some interesting May facts and folklore that you either knew or maybe even not new. Starting off with a May fun fact, May ranks as the climatological peak month for tornado frequency across the United States, particularly in the central and southern plains. This occurs because of the optimal overlap of atmospheric instability, abundant low-level moisture from the Gulf, and strong wind shear during the spring transition. So we're heading into peak severe weather season, y'all, so definitely be prepared for that. Now some folklore. A cold, wet May brings barn full of hay. This traditional agricultural saying reflects the observation that Cooler and wetter conditions in May often promote robust crop and hay growth, leading to abundant harvests later in the season. An alternative note, cold snaps frequently occur around May 11th through 13th, which is the 3 chilly saints. Now, I wouldn't plant anything at least until after Mother's Day and really after the Indy 500, as we did come in on snowfall before during the Indy 500, so I would definitely hold off on planting anything at least until that time frame. Or if you have a greenhouse, then by all means plant all you want, but again, I would hold off due to frost. And if you did plant anything, then definitely watch out for frost, and if there is a frost advisory or frost warning or frost watch or whatever, definitely cover up those plants. So I hope each and every one of y'all enjoyed this May outlook. If you did, please make sure to hit that like and share button so more folks are informed about the weather. Also, leave me some feedback in the comment section down below, as any feedback helps provide you, the viewer, better and more informed content in the future. And also, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button down below, as at Here Williams Weather we try to make weather forecasting fun and informative. So basically, we're going to be heading into a volatile month of May as far as weather goes anyways, as I think we're going to be dealing with a very active severe weather pattern like we did here at the end of April, or much of us here in the eastern part of the country, as I think we're going to be starting off May here out east very, very cool. But I think as we head toward the latter half of May, I think we're going to be heading into a warmer than average pattern here out east, which is going to definitely result in a severe weather pattern once more. And down there in the southeast, y'all are heading into wet season, which is definitely well needed down there, so definitely could use the rain out there, and y'all are definitely going to be getting it for the month of May. So again, it's looking like May is going to be very volatile. Could be cool to start, warm to finish. Precipitation is up in the air, but I think we're going to be definitely heading into a very active month of May, like I said earlier. So again, enjoy your May, y'all. Don't let the weather deter you from enjoying this nice May weather. And if we do come in on an active weather pattern, definitely stay hyper weather aware, as we are in peak severe weather season. I'll be keeping you posted if we do come in on a multi-day severe weather pattern. So again, like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate all of y'all for watching, and until next time, never stop forecasting.